When Ithalaris Prime screamed into the void, only silence answered. The Thraxians smiled, victorious, certain their cruelty would go unchallenged. Until space itself warped violently, and humanity's nightmare fleet emerged from legend. The wolves of Earth had arrived, hungry for justice. When Ithalaris Prime screamed desperately into the void, silence mocked them back. Zalaris stood frozen in horror at the transmission terminal, her delicate aurori fingers trembling. Behind her, the pale sapphire glow of the crystals dimmed with each pulse of incoming fire. Screams echoed down pristine crystalline corridors, shattering the artistic tranquility Ithalaris once embodied. "Any response?" murmured Elder Halles, his voice laced with despair. "None, Elder," Zalaris whispered softly. "We're alone." Above, the obsidian warships of the Thraxian Dominion circled like predators savoring wounded prey. Aboard their dread flagship, Admiral Zargath smirked at the planet below, his metallic voice echoing coldly. "Pathetic artists playing soldier," Zargath sneered to his lieutenant. "No fleet is foolish enough to challenge us." But as Zargath spoke, space shuddered violently, tearing itself apart with reckless fury. Something emerged from the distortion, a shadow-wreathed nightmare of steel and darkened hulls. The Thraxians froze, confusion briefly flickering in their eyes before training returned. "Identify them," Zargath demanded, voice tightening. "They match no known fleet," his lieutenant replied nervously. "Their signals, human signatures." "Impossible," Zargath hissed. "Humanity abandoned the outer worlds decades ago." But Zargath's bravado cracked, splintering into fear as every terminal aboard flickered simultaneously, hacked effortlessly. A deep, aggressively charismatic voice spoke through the static, making every listener pause, pulses quickening. "You preyed on lambs today, Thraxians. Congratulations. Now let's see how well you handle wolves." Captain Maddox, grim, Crossfire leaned forward in his seat aboard the darkened bridge, his fingers drumming calmly on the armrest, eyes burning intensely. "Spectres, break formation. Engage at will." His fleet erupted instantly, ghostly vessels spiraling aggressively toward the enemy lines, slicing through the void with reckless brilliance. Explosions blossomed like crimson roses, illuminating Grimm's battle-hardened face. Beside him, Tactical Officer Marcus laughed viciously, tracking data streams. "Dominion ships attempting evasive maneuvers, Captain," Marcus barked with savage joy. "It's chaos." "Good," Grimm growled, a dangerous grin touching his lips. "That's where we live." Below decks, boarding pods prepared for launch. Crews assembled rapidly, exiles, criminals, warriors who'd lost everything but their fierce determination. Among them stood Zalaris, who had been rushed aboard the moment Grimm's ship had materialized. She felt waves of anger, defiance, and hunger for justice radiating off these humans. Yet, beneath their violent aggression, she glimpsed sorrow and longing for redemption that resonated painfully in her chest. "Captain Crossfire," Zalaris said softly, her psychic voice bridging directly to his mind. "Why did you come? Humans owe nothing to Ithalaris." Grimm's hardened voice echoed clearly within her, strong yet touched by raw honesty. "We come because no one else does. Humanity might abandon us, but we won't abandon innocence to darkness." She nodded, understanding clearly. "Then let me help. Serenite crystals can amplify human emotions, hope, courage, even your rage." Grimm paused, eyes narrowing thoughtfully, then smirked. "Your crystals might be exactly the edge we need." "Captain?" Marcus shouted suddenly, urgency shattering the moment. "Enemy cruisers regrouping! Heavy fire incoming! Brace!" Grimm barked sharply as the ship lurched violently, screens flickering wildly, alarms blaring. Through the chaos he stood steady, eyes blazing defiance. "Launch boarding pods now! Zalaris, you're with me!" The Spectre's boarding pods screamed through the vacuum, slicing into the Dominion flagship like surgical knives. Thraxian soldiers rushed forward, desperate and arrogant, only to find humanity's most feared fleet bursting through their defenses with merciless efficiency. Every corridor became a brutal melee, human cunning and ruthless skill against Thraxian brutality. Zalaris followed Grimm through the chaos, awestruck at the furious elegance of his combat style. His blade flashed, a fluid extension of himself, striking without hesitation, cutting down enemies like a relentless storm. He moved with calculated aggression, confidence radiating even in the face of overwhelming odds. "Captain Crossfire!" Zalaris shouted suddenly, sensing a surge of hostile intent. Grimm pivoted instantly, narrowly dodging plasma fire before effortlessly dispatching his attacker. He spared her a brief, grateful nod. "Nice save," he growled appreciatively. "Stay sharp." She smiled slightly, surprisingly comforted by his gruffness, feeling his buried humanity, hidden beneath layers of violent purpose. They stormed toward the bridge doors, sealed and protected by a dozen heavily armored Thraxian elite guards. "Your defiance ends here, humans!" one snarled confidently. Grimm smirked dangerously, eyes gleaming with feral intensity. "Funny! We were about to say the same." The specters exploded forward, battle roaring furiously, their weapons clashing violently in a symphony of destruction. Zalaris focused intensely, reaching deep into the guards' minds, amplifying their fears, their doubts, their panic. Grimm's warriors struck at the chaos she created, cutting them down decisively. Within seconds, the Thraxian elites lay broken around them. Grimm advanced aggressively, kicking the bridge doors open violently, revealing Admiral Zargoth frozen at his command station, arrogance replaced by a naked fear. "Captain Maddox Crossfire!" Zargoth stammered, voice shaking despite himself. "Your species abandoned you, you have no home. No allies." Grimm advanced calmly, his voice dripping with cold menace. "You misunderstand, Zargoth. Humanity didn't abandon us, they freed us. Freed us from restraint, from mercy, from hesitation. Now there's nothing holding us back." Zargoth desperately lunged forward, weapon raised. Grimm sidestepped smoothly, grabbing the Admiral by the throat with ruthless efficiency, lifting him effortlessly. You're monsters!" Zargoth gasped weakly. Grimm leaned close, eyes blazing dangerously. "We're exactly what the galaxy made us." He threw Zargoth violently aside, turning to Zalaris with commanding intensity. "Can your crystals broadcast emotions to every ship in orbit?" She nodded, determined. "They can. Then tell your people to show them who we are," Grimm ordered sharply. "Let them feel the full fury, the defiance, the unbroken strength of humanity." Zalaris reached out, channeling every powerful emotion she felt from Grimm and his crew, rage tempered by honor, violence laced with justice, courage forged from loss, broadcasting it across Ithalaris Prime, into every Thraxian warship, every frightened Aurori soul. The Dominion fleet shuddered, panic erupting instantly among their crews, crippled by unfamiliar emotions, uncertainty, fear, hopelessness. Grimm's eyes gleamed victoriously as enemy ships scattered desperately, retreating in disarray. "Remember this feeling, Dominion!" Grimm roared defiantly, voice echoing fiercely across all channels. "Remember how swiftly your arrogance broke beneath human strength!" Silence fell briefly across Ithalaris Prime, then thunderous cheers erupted from surviving Aurori, hopeful, inspired. Zalaris turned to Grimm, admiration glowing fiercely within her eyes. "Thank you, Captain. You've given us hope again." Grimm smiled grimly, eyes hardened yet gentle. "Humanity may abandon us, but we never abandon our duty." His voice dropped lower, resonating powerfully with quiet conviction. "Wherever innocence suffers, we specters will always answer." Captain Maddox, Grimm, Crossfire moved swiftly through the battle-scarred halls of the Dominion flagship, Zalaris close behind him, her serene eyes darkened by urgency. "Captain, the Thraxians won't retreat for long," Zalaris warned, feeling waves of renewed aggression building in the enemy fleet. "They're rallying quickly." Grimm nodded, wiping blood from his blade, calm but focused. "They'll regroup. But fear will keep them hesitant. Right now, our priority is securing your crystals. Serenite crystals lie deep in Ithalaris' temples," Zalaris said quietly. "My people have hidden them for generations. If the Dominion unlocks their secrets, they'll weaponize emotions, enslave entire worlds. Grimm paused, eyes hardening. Then we move now. Marcus, status report? Marcus's voice crackled urgently through the comlink. Heavy Dominion resistance planet-side, Captain. Aurori forces are holding out, barely. We've got landing zones hot and waiting. Grimm's eyes flashed dangerously. Good. Spectres never did settle well. Within moments, they reached the dropships. Spectre warriors stood ready, battle-hardened faces set, bodies armored but still bearing scars from past battles. Grimm's gaze scanned each face briefly, his voice echoing sharply. This isn't about revenge anymore. Today we fight for those who can't fight back. For humanity's honor, forgotten by those who cast us out. Remember, the Thraxians think they broke Ithalaris. Let's show them exactly how wrong they are. A fierce cheer erupted, weapons raised defiantly as the dropships surged downward toward Ithalaris Prime. Below them, chaos reigned. Dominion artillery shelled Aurori temples, the once beautiful crystalline spires now burning, shattering in agony beneath relentless attacks. They mean to erase us, Zalaris whispered bitterly, her usually tranquil voice trembling. Grimm felt her grief echoing inside him, tempered by determination. They'll fail, Grimm growled reassuringly. Monsters always underestimate resilience. The dropships punched through clouds, landing violently, doors bursting open. Immediately, specters poured forth, surging aggressively forward into furious combat. Dominion soldiers rushed forward, their plasma weapons blazing with arrogant confidence, quickly shattered as specters retaliated ruthlessly. Cunning traps detonated under enemy feet, deadly crossfire tearing through stunned Thraxian ranks. Grimm stormed into the fray, blade flashing, moving through enemy lines with precise brutality. Zalaris moved with him, her psychic presence radiating outward, amplifying human courage and disrupting Dominion confidence. As the battle raged, Grimm caught Zalaris's eye, sensing her growing exhaustion. Can you hold? Grimm asked sharply, dispatching 2 soldiers swiftly. I must, Zalaris responded fiercely, strength rekindling at his concern. My people depend on it. Grimm smiled tightly. Then let's end this quickly. They pushed toward the great temple doors, sealed shut by the Aurori elders to protect the crystals within. Dominion soldiers were attempting to breach them violently, cutting tools blazing fiercely. Grimm's voice rang out sharply, instantly drawing enemy attention. Step away from the door, or die defending it. Dominion troops hesitated, glancing uneasily among themselves. Zalaris stepped forward boldly, her eyes glowing gently. You sense doubt, she said, voice calm yet powerful. You know deep inside your leaders abandoned you here. Turn away now, leave this battle, and you'll survive. For an instant, Dominion resolve wavered, soldiers shifting uncertainly. But from behind, a Thraxian commander emerged, arrogant and unyielding. Cowards! He spat venomously. Kill them! The soldiers surged forward desperately, attacking in a frenzy. Grimm met them head-on, warriors clashing violently, blades flashing, plasma bolts scorching dangerously close. Zalaris reached into enemy minds desperately, sowing confusion, magnifying hesitation. Grimm exploited each opening, carving through enemies with cold efficiency. As the last soldier fell, Grimm confronted the commander, eyes coldly merciless. Surrender now, and I'll let you live, Grimm growled. Mercy from the Grim Reaper? The commander sneered mockingly. Impossible. Your mistake, Grimm replied sharply, lunging forward and swiftly striking him down. Zalaris quickly approached the temple door, placing her hand upon its glowing crystal surface. The doors trembled, recognizing her presence, and slowly swung open. Inside lay thousands of serenite crystals glowing softly, each one pulsing gently, attuned to emotions of the Aurori. Beautiful, Grimm murmured, all briefly softening his hardened features. Yes, Zalaris agreed quietly, voice trembling. And powerful beyond measure. Before she could continue, alarm screamed violently from Grimm's comlink. Captain? Dominion reinforcements incoming! Heavy artillery! Marcus's panicked voice echoed clearly. Grimm reacted instantly. Hold position. We're securing the crystals now. Prepare for extraction immediately. Extraction? Marcus shouted incredulously. Captain, Dominion warships just returned. They're moving into bombardment positions. We've got minutes at best. Grimm's eyes darkened fiercely. Then hold them as long as you can. Zalaris, can these crystals amplify emotions fleet-wide? Yes, she responded urgently, understanding his intent instantly. But a surge that large may overwhelm you. Grimm shook his head, determination burning fiercely. Do it anyway. Humanity survives by taking impossible chances. Zalaris closed her eyes, channeling every powerful emotion radiating from Grimm and his warriors: rage, defiance, courage. Serenite crystals responded instantly, blazing fiercely, the energy flooding upward toward orbit, touching every specter aboard the fleet. Above Athalaris Prime, Grimm's ships surged violently forward, humanity's passion driving them to reckless brilliance. Dominion warships flinched back instinctively, overwhelmed by human aggression, their ranks shattering beneath fierce assaults. Grimm sensed victory nearing, but suddenly, Zalaris collapsed weakly, gasping painfully. Zalaris! Grimm caught her swiftly, concern flashing briefly through his eyes. Stop! You're pushing too hard. Have to finish it. She murmured weakly, eyes glowing faintly. The Dominion must fear humanity's strength. Grimm hesitated, conflicted, but felt the surge of emotional power fueling his fleet weakening dangerously. No! Grimm growled fiercely, voice hard with resolve. We'll finish it together. Draw strength from me, whatever it takes. Zalaris met his gaze, sensing his deep sincerity, and nodded. She leaned into him, strength returning rapidly. Together they unleashed a final surge of defiance and courage, crystal energy roaring upward, violently overwhelming Dominion crews, sending them scattering in panic and defeat. Marcus's relieved voice echoed triumphantly. Captain, Dominion fleet retreating. They've broken completely. Grimm exhaled heavily, allowing exhaustion to briefly overtake him. He gently helped Zalaris stand, their bond forged in desperate battle. We survived, Zalaris whispered gratefully. Grimm smiled faintly, eyes burning with quiet intensity. We always will. Humanity was made to fight, to survive when no one else believes it's possible. Zalaris stood beside him proudly, hope restored. Then Athalaris Prime and humanity will stand together, bound by courage. Grimm nodded, fierce pride glowing warmly in his gaze. Always. Grim Crossfire stood quietly amidst shattered crystal and smoldering rubble, feeling a rare moment of stillness. Zalaris leaned heavily against him, breathing shallowly, exhausted yet determined. Grim steadied her carefully, his hardened gaze softening as their eyes briefly met. Thank you, Zalaris whispered quietly, voice trembling slightly. Without you, my people would have been erased. Grim's eyes darkened briefly, a fleeting shadow of old regrets flashing behind his expression. I've been on the other side of wars like this. Never again. Suddenly, Marcus's urgent voice broke through, sharp and worried. Captain Crossfire, incoming transmission, priority signal, Earth-based signature. Grim's muscles tensed immediately, jaw tightening. Earth? Impossible. Marcus responded quickly, voice strained. Confirmed, sir. Signal authenticity checks out. Zalaris noticed Grim's posture shift, emotions shifting sharply into unease. Is something wrong, Captain? Grim paused, exhaling deeply. Earth abandoned us decades ago. They exiled us, erased us from their memories. This contact isn't a friendly reunion. Put them through, Grim ordered finally, voice cold and commanding. Static flickered briefly before an older man's voice emerged, familiar, bitterly so. Maddox Crossfire. Still alive, still fighting wars you shouldn't. Grim's eyes blazed instantly with cold fury. Admiral Vaughn. Thought you died hiding behind Earth's neutrality. Vaughn's voice hardened sharply. Earth didn't exile your fleet lightly, Crossfire. You disobeyed orders, risked Earth's safety. Grim interrupted fiercely, eyes narrowing dangerously. Safety? You abandoned innocent worlds, left billions defenseless. Ithalaris Prime screamed for help, and you sold them out to Dominion's slaughter. A tense silence stretched painfully. Zalaris felt Grimm's emotions shifting violently, confusion, anger, betrayal surging together. Finally, Vaughn spoke quietly, words chillingly calm. Sacrifices must be made to maintain peace, Maddox. Earth's stability demanded the Dominion's goodwill. Ithalaris Prime was expendable. Zalaris gasped softly, horrified by Earth's betrayal. Grimm's fists clenched tightly, voice dropping dangerously low. Expendable. Is that how you sleep at night, Vaughn? With the blood of innocents paving your so-called peace? Vaughn's response was ice-cold, indifferent. Peace always demands sacrifices. Now cease interference immediately. Earth demands you withdraw your fleet from Ithalaris Prime. Grimm chuckled bitterly, humorless. Earth demands? Humanity's elite abandoned us, cast us into darkness, but you don't control us anymore. We protect worlds you deem disposable. Vaughn's tone shifted sharply, cruelly dismissive. Your fleet is nothing but criminals and traitors. You've no moral high ground. Grimm's voice erupted violently, rage barely contained. Criminals you created by cowardice and betrayal. Traitors because we defied abandoning innocence. Your peace isn't worth the horrors you've allowed. Withdraw or we'll declare you rogue enemies. Vaughn growled harshly, threats lacing his voice. Grimm smiled darkly, fearless. Declare what you want. We've always thrived being humanity's monsters. The transmission cut sharply, leaving tense silence behind. Zalaris felt Grimm's turmoil clearly, reaching out softly. You're no monster, she whispered earnestly. He met her gaze quietly, eyes deeply troubled. To them I am. A necessary monster they created. One they despise yet need. Suddenly, alarms blared violently again. Dominion warships returned aggressively, emboldened by Earth's betrayal. Marcus shouted urgently. Captain? Dominion fleet resuming bombardment. They believe Earth's abandoned us. Grimm straightened, eyes hardening fiercely, determination surging again. Let them believe. We'll remind them exactly how fierce abandoned humans fight. Zalaris straightened beside him, voice resolute. I'll amplify your crew's courage again. But Captain, will you fight Earth itself? Grimm paused, exhaling sharply. Not today. Today we finish protecting Ithalaris. Tomorrow, Earth answers for its betrayal. Outside, Dominion ships surged downward, unleashing fierce barrages. Grimm led Zalaris swiftly through smoke and rubble, regrouping quickly with Marcus and the battered, defiant specters. Marcus's voice held steely resolve. Earth betrayed us again? Grimm nodded sharply, voice firm. But that changes nothing. Earth was never our reason for fighting. Protecting innocence, defying darkness, that's who we've always been. Marcus smiled grimly, nodding sharply. Then let's show them humanity's true strength. Spectres roared fiercely, inspired again despite wounds and exhaustion, surging aggressively into battle. Grimm fought savagely, blade flashing violently, each strike defiant against betrayal, a promise of justice. Zalaris! Grimm called urgently as Dominion forces closed viciously. Your crystals, can you project emotion directly into Dominion leadership? Their flagship commander? She nodded swiftly, understanding his plan immediately. It's possible, but dangerous. Do it, Grimm commanded fiercely. Show them fear, uncertainty, let them taste their victim's terror. Zalaris focused intently, serenite crystals glowing fiercely, emotions roaring forth into Dominion minds, violently overwhelming their disciplined composure. Thraxian commanders panicked suddenly, orders becoming confused, conflicting, collapsing quickly into desperate chaos. Dominion fleet formations shattered, ships retreating rapidly. Grimm stood amid wreckage and victory, breathing heavily, eyes burning victoriously. Marcus laughed roughly, exhausted yet elated. Dominion in full retreat, Captain. They've broken. Grimm nodded, weary satisfaction briefly showing. Zalaris approached softly, deeply moved. Humanity truly fights hardest when abandoned. Grimm smiled grimly. Exile forged us into this. Outcasts, renegades, heroes. Humanity's worst fear, the galaxy's fiercest protectors. She touched his arm gently, voice sincere. You saved us despite everything, betrayal, exile. You're heroes. Grimm's gaze softened briefly, eyes tired yet resolute. We're whatever the innocent need us to be. Suddenly, another urgent transmission crackled sharply through comms, Vaughn's bitter voice returning abruptly. Crossfire, your defiance risks humanity's extinction. Grimm's voice turned ice-cold, quietly furious. Humanity already survived extinction once, Admiral, by defying cowardice. We'll survive again. Vaughn snarled coldly. You'll regret this. Earth won't forgive betrayal. Grimm's response resonated powerfully, calmly fearless. We never wanted your forgiveness. Humanity abandoned us, but we never abandoned humanity. He cut transmission sharply, turning quietly to Zalaris, eyes resolute. Earth betrayed us, but humanity's spirit lives here, among outcasts protecting the forgotten. She smiled softly, proud admiration glowing fiercely. Then Ithalaris Prime stands proudly alongside you, Captain. Grimm nodded sharply, fierce conviction steadying his voice. Together, we'll teach this galaxy humanity's greatest truth. True strength emerges when hope seems lost, when betrayal cuts deepest. Marcus approached solemnly, voice resolute. An Earth, Captain? Grimm's eyes darkened with defiant resolve, voice ringing powerfully. Earth will answer soon enough. But today, we remind the universe, humanity's strength thrives strongest when betrayed. Zalaris stood proudly beside Grimm Crossfire, witnessing humanity's fierce resilience firsthand, as specters rose again, wounded yet unbroken, abandoned yet never alone. Grimm Crossfire stood silently, eyes sharp and unreadable, watching the Dominion's battered flagship retreat into the darkness beyond Ithalaris Prime's orbit. Marcus stepped beside him, his voice cautious yet firm. They're pulling back, Captain, but for how long? Grimm's jaw tightened briefly, the shadows in his eyes reflecting a deeper, unspoken storm. They'll return. Dominion pride won't accept defeat lightly. Zalaris stood quietly near them, her voice soft yet unwavering. Then we must make them fear returning. Show them the cost is higher than any victory they seek. Grimm glanced at her briefly, admiration briefly touching his features. She's right. Dominion brutality thrives because no one has stood against it before. They think resistance impossible. Marcus nodded sharply. Then we show them what humanity does best, survive the impossible. Grimm turned swiftly, addressing the weary yet fiercely resolute specters assembled nearby. This fight isn't finished. Earth abandoned us again, left us to face this alone. But we've never been stronger, never more ready. Dominion or Earth, it doesn't matter. Humanity fights hardest when betrayed, when isolated. Let the galaxy see clearly today, we're exactly what they made us, unstoppable. His crew erupted instantly, cheers fierce and defiant echoing powerfully through the damaged corridors. Zalaris moved closer, feeling their raw emotions radiating vividly, pride and hope ignited anew. Captain, Marcus interrupted gently, lowering his voice discreetly. We received another transmission from Admiral Vaughn, private channel, your eyes only. Grimm tensed visibly, voice dropping sharply. Play it. The transmission crackled harshly, Vaughn's bitter voice cutting sharply through static. Maddox, I warned you once, do not test Earth's patience. Ithalaris Prime was sacrificed to keep peace intact. Your interference now threatens all of humanity. Grimm's expression hardened dangerously. Peace built on innocent blood isn't peace, it's cowardice. We'll fight as long as your supposed peace demands sacrifices. You're committing suicide. Vaughn snapped coldly. Dominion won't stop here. They'll come for Earth itself now. Grimm laughed sharply, bitterly defiant. Then perhaps Earth will finally learn the cost of cowardice. If humanity's leaders had courage, Dominion would fear humans, not prey upon them. Vaughn hesitated briefly, voice quieting bitterly. Earth can't defend against Dominion alone, not anymore. Grimm's eyes narrowed suspiciously. What are you saying, Vaughn? A pause lingered painfully before Vaughn finally responded, voice strained. We need you, Maddox. Earth needs the Spectres. Zolaris watched Grimm closely, sensing intense emotional conflict surging violently beneath his stoic exterior. Grimm finally spoke, his voice dangerously quiet, laced with disbelief. You exiled us. Abandoned us. Now you beg for our return? Vaughn's response came quietly resigned, utterly defeated. We made mistakes. Humanity's safety blinded us. You've proven us wrong, proven humanity's strength thrives exactly where we abandoned it. Grimm's gaze flickered briefly, emotions warring within him. Zolaris touched his arm gently, sensing the turmoil clearly. Captain, humanity needs you. Earth betrayed you, but humanity itself is innocent. Grimm met her gaze, voice strained softly. They abandoned us, Zolaris, threw us aside to save themselves. Now they plead for rescue. Zolaris's eyes softened compassionately. Then remind them who humanity truly is. You said it yourself, humanity fights hardest when hope is lost, when betrayal cuts deepest. You've become humanity's spirit made real. Don't abandon them now. Grimm hesitated, fists tightening with tense conflict. Marcus watched quietly, finally speaking softly yet clearly. We trust your judgment, Captain. You brought us through darkness before. Grimm sighed deeply, conflict fading slowly into quiet resolve. Open channel to Vaughn. Done, Marcus replied promptly. Admiral Vaughn. Grimm spoke firmly, controlled yet resolute. Spectres were created from exile, betrayal, abandonment. We became humanity's outcasts, but we never abandoned our humanity. We'll defend Earth, but only because humanity itself deserves protection, not because leaders deserve forgiveness. Vaughn's relief resonated clearly through transmission. Then hurry. Dominion forces already approaching Earth orbit. We're defenseless. Grimm's voice hardened coldly. Hold until we arrive. Consider this your redemption. Transmission ended sharply. Grimm turned swiftly to his warriors, voice echoing powerfully with steely determination. Prepare fleet for immediate departure to Earth orbit. Humanity itself calls for our strength, and today, we answer. Spectres moved instantly, preparations swift, confidence unwavering. Grimm approached Zolaris gently, voice quietly grateful. Your courage reminds us exactly what we fight for. Zolaris smiled warmly. You reminded us first. Your fierce humanity showed Ithalaris Prime the power of defiance. Marcus approached respectfully. Fleet ready, Captain? Grimm nodded sharply. Then it's time. Dominion believes humanity weak, scattered. Let's teach them their mistake. Within moments, Spectre ships surged upward, warping rapidly toward Earth's orbit. Dominion forces appeared in full aggressive formation, confident in victory. But Grimm stood resolute, calm defiance blazing through his fleet, determination pulsing powerfully through each ship, each warrior. Dominion Admiral's arrogant voice echoed harshly, broadcast publicly across human and Dominion channels. Humanity, your defenders are criminals, traitors. Your extinction comes swiftly. Grimm's fierce laughter resonated aggressively through the transmission. Traitors? Criminals? Perhaps, but humanity created us. Dominion shaped us. Now we return exactly as both feared, relentless, unbreakable. Dominion hesitated briefly, confusion flickering briefly through their ranks. Grimm continued, voice ringing fiercely, courageously defiant. You hunted humanity's innocence, slaughtered worlds believing humanity weak. Let me remind you, humanity's greatest strength isn't peace, it's defiance. We're born survivors, relentless warriors forged by struggle. Surrender, or humanity's vengeance becomes legendary. Dominion warships hesitated sharply, ranks breaking, uncertainty flashing violently through commanders. Zolaris channeled serenite crystals powerfully, amplifying humanity's fierce resolve, flooding Dominion minds instantly with terror, panic, despair. Dominion fleet collapsed completely, retreating chaotically, scattered utterly defeated. Human ships orbiting Earth cheered triumphantly, hope rekindled. Grimm broadcast clearly, voice resonating powerfully yet controlled. Earth leaders abandoned us, humanity never did. Remember clearly today, specters aren't criminals or traitors. We're humanity's living defiance, guardians against darkness. And we will always answer when humanity calls. Earth's fleet commanders responded emotionally, gratitude echoing deeply. Captain Crossfire, welcome home. Grimm smiled faintly, emotions briefly flickering powerfully. Home isn't Earth, home is humanity itself. And humanity never abandoned us. Zolaris approached softly, proud and gentle. You did it, Captain. You redeemed not only your warriors, but humanity's true strength. Grimm exhaled deeply, eyes calm yet fiercely determined. No. Humanity's strength was always here. We simply reminded them. Marcus nodded respectfully, voice quiet yet fiercely proud. Orders, Captain? Grimm smiled sharply, fiercely resolute. Specters never rest. Wherever innocence suffers, we answer swiftly, aggressively. Dominion learned painfully, Galaxy understands now clearly. Grimm stood defiantly, voice echoing powerfully, courageously triumphant. Let darkness fear humanity again. Specters stand ready, always.